Jason is interested in replacing his old petrol car with an electric car, and he's got the same kind of questions people have always got. Let's go through them, Jason. People ask me all the time, I want to buy an EV. I'm not sure about it. My old car is dying and it's about to stop in the middle of the motorway somewhere. I want to act before that happens, but I don't have tons of money because there are a lot of electric cars that cost maybe 45, 50, 60, $70,000, but not everyone has that much. And not everyone needs to transport three or four or five people around. Maybe it's just one person or two, and maybe some gear. Today, we're having a chat with an old friend, Jason, who has a micro business called Thinker Entertainment, which runs themed trivia quizzes and other kinds of trivia quizzes at hospitality venues and for corporates around Sydney. Please contribute. It really helps my independent, honest journalism.
This will be my second car. So the current car that I've got at the moment is a Toyota Yaris, purchased back in 2008, has been really happy. I made a good choice right at the beginning, but I didn't know what I was doing. Now I've got a little bit more experience in what is going to be a good fit for me as a car. But all of that information is what's going to be a good fit as a petrol car. So I don't know how that translates into an EV. So the first thing is, what are the kind of things that EV drivers who have, maybe they're onto their second EV, their third EV, where they're like, man, I wish I knew this back when I was looking up and buying my first EV. This is the knowledge that I've gained over time. And I wish that younger version of myself back when he was buying his very first EV, I wish he knew that. That's kind of what I want, because I don't want to go through my second, third EV. I want to make a great purchase on the first one.
Yeah, makes sense. I would say two things. One is practical and one is law enforcement. Now, people are going to go, what? The practical one is, for 70, 80% of people, including yourself, who has a garage or a driveway where they can park and plug their car in to charge, and especially if they don't do long trips, my understanding is that generally you're just going to drive around Sydney. No epic Nullarbor road trips or driving to far north Queensland. It's going to be for work, visiting friends, doing the shopping, all that kind of stuff. So most electric cars can do that already. And the thing that people don't appreciate, because they're just used to going to fill up petrol in a Bowser, like how much do you fill up a tank if you almost run empty? How much roughly? At $1.75
In terms
or
of dollars
$3?
or
Dollars.
dollars, oh, at the moment these days, between $50 and $60.
So to give an idea, my car is got a bigger battery, but it would be way less than that. So I don't know how many hundreds of kilometers your car can go on a tank, but it's going to cost a lot less. And a lot of people, again, fixated on highway charging. But again, if you're only going to be driving around the city and visiting friends and doing shopping and going to work events, a lot of people I speak with never use a public charger in their life. All they do is they plug in at home at night or during the day while they're sitting, and it refills, just like slowly filling a water tank. There you go, done. And the law enforcement bit, the second bit that people don't realize when they buy an EV or an electric car of any kind, tiny or large, is they have really good acceleration off a standing start. And even if you know that, it's pretty common for people who aren't paying attention to accidentally get a speeding ticket, because especially if you're like me and you live in an area which has lots of 40 zones, you put the accelerator down at the lights and you could be at 50 before you blink, even in a little electric car, not even just a sports electric car. So but those are two things that I think people don't think about or realize when they're buying their first one, that it's crazy cheap to charge at home. Even if you don't have solar, it's still cheaper than petrol to charge from mains electricity. And be careful getting used to the acceleration. Maybe go to somewhere on the edge of the city, some big empty car park or empty area, and practice a bit till you get used to how it works. Because the third thing that people don't realize is something that petrol and diesel cars don't have, is what's called regenerative braking. So most electric cars have, so you accelerate to go fast. When you take your foot off the pedal, it actually puts some energy back into the battery by using reverse of accelerator as a brake. So you might need to press on the brake pedal or you might not. The regenerative braking might be enough. And people might not be used to that. So if they drive like a lead foot, you stomp on the accelerator, lift it off really quickly, it could feel a bit jerky. So it's good to practice being smooth. You know how it is. If you've ever been in a taxi or an Uber and they just only have two motions, smash or let go, and you feel like, oh, don't do that. It's good to practice once you get your first one.
So yeah, I do have a power outlet in my garage. I've never actually seen a charging port in an EV. So is it literally just like your three prong? You can just get a power extension lead and just
A
plug
lot
one
of,
in.
if it's just a single car garage and it's metered to your power plan, like
Yep,
that particular socket, okay, too easy.
yep.
So you don't even need to ask anyone's permission if you're in an apartment block or anything. It's already you paying for it off your own electricity bill. Ideally, you don't use an extension cord. That's what most manuals say. You would just get an EV charger cable. Either some cars come with it, more and more they don't because manufacturer cost cutting. Just like the shrinkflation at the supermarket, I went to Marrickville Metro just earlier today and I was like, wait a second. Walking past the display, those Mars bars used to have 6 grams more, and that frozen vegetables used to be like 25 grams more. So,
Yeah.
like everything else, they're trying to cut costs and skip on some parts. But it's pretty easy to buy. There's places you can buy online and get it delivered in the next day or two, a couple hundred. And it's
So
on one end, it's a normal three-pin power socket, and on the
yep,
other end, it just plugs into your car.
right. So that's that like a proprietary socket into the car, and then your standard universal power plug that goes into your outlet.
Yeah, that's
So
for
you
normal
would.
slow charging. You can get faster home charging, but it costs in the vicinity of at least $800 for a dedicated faster charger plus a
Uh,
Sparky fees. So you're looking at 1,500, 2,000. So unless you really need to go from empty to full overnight or in half a day, probably don't bother.
well, in that case, what kind of let's say I'm getting home after a gig, let's say 10 o'clock, 10:30. I pull into the garage, I plug it in, I leave it on charge. What kind of charging can I expect when I get up the following morning at 8 o'clock?
I can do 10 hours. It's better if you set your car charger slightly lower than the maximum that the PowerPoint can supply because a lot of people forget PowerPoints were made. Yes, in theory, they should be able to output the maximum for hours and hours and hours, but who knows how old that PowerPoint is. So the
Uh-huh.
general caution thing is to run at about 80% of maximum, especially if you're going to run it overnight or for long periods, and that keeps it safe. I'll pause the video here while I have a quick think and do some maths. Depends on the car battery. I would say for a small hatchback electric car in 10 hours, you could probably add about 30% of your battery back from
All
say
right.
10 p.m. to 8 a.m.
All right. So as
And
long
it's
as you're
good
not.
to think of it as instead of running down to empty and then refilling, which a lot of people are used to with petrol, think about it more like feeding your car snacks. It's like bar snacks. If you can get a snack, plug it in. If you're whenever
All mobile phone.
5%, 10%, 25
Like
to 40%.
my mobile phone is literally on charge right now. Just whenever you're near a charge, just chuck it on
Yeah.
charge.
If you're at home,
Um,
plug it in. It becomes almost without a thinking thing.
are there like apps where I get up and I'm like, oh, I wonder how much capacity my car is sitting on at the moment, and I have a look at like, is that a standard thing or is that only
It
things that
can
some
be.
manufacturers
A
do?
lot of cars have remote, so I could do that with mine for argument's sake. Let's open it up and address, and it says 437 kilometers and whatever percent it is because it's parked
Uh-huh.
down the road. But
Yep.
because of the car has a 4G SIM in it, I asked it how much was left, which is, anyway. Sometimes you need to refresh because the car's gone to sleep. But unless your car is in some kind of underground nuclear bunker concrete thing where there's no signal, then you wouldn't get a signal. Is it in some kind of underground multi-level car park thing?
Mine, no, no, no. It's great, just ground level garage.
Perfect. So you should be able to do that.
Fantastic. What about servicing? So I've come to expect when I put my car in for service, what they're going to do and how much that's going to cost. How does the experience change with an EV? What are some of the things that they just don't have to do because the internal parts are different? What are things that they didn't used to have to do, but they do have to do now? I'm also interested in maybe changes in costs. This particular part in a petrol vehicle might need this kind of treatment, but
Yep.
the equivalent version of that in an EV is now much more expensive or whatever.
Most brands have some kind of service schedule, which, if you want to keep your warranty, then you should stick to. And there are people in the EV community who are like, I'm going to say it, it's unfortunate. Tesla says you don't need to have any service schedule. So our car will just tell you when you need to get things fixed, usually through the app or on the screen or whatever. But they have really short, like the base car warranty is 4 years. And the batteries with most electric car warranties is 7 or 8 years. And that doesn't mean it's going to fall apart after 7 or 8 years. It's like a house battery. It's warranted to be at least 70%-ish capacity by then, because it just slowly drops the maximum amount. At least. I have a friend with a 10-year-old Tesla, and he's only lost 7%. Servicing depends on the brand and depends on their dealerships. It could be once a year or once every 2 years. And the cost will vary depending on, often they have like TikTok kind of thing where first one is low and the second one, it depends how long the warranty you get is, be 5 years, 7 years, some are 10 years. And the things
How
that you need to get looked at outside of that are just the normal everyday things that you would get looked at anyway. Like I have Bridgestone tires, which came with the car, and I could have chosen any car place, but I like the Summerhill Bridgestone people. So I went there a couple of weeks ago. My car's 13 months old, roughly. And you got the wheels balanced, and I got them all rotated because it's a rear-wheel drive. So the rears will get worn a bit more.
Hmm.
That kind of thing is just up to you, just like anything else. And when you take it in to get servicing, some of the other things will be exactly the same as a petrol car, like air filters to replace them for all the crappy air pollution that's in Sydney. But some things are different. They'll check the battery health and that kind of thing. But generally, there are a lot fewer parts in there than if you open the hood of an electric car and look in, you'd be like, oh, where are all these belts and things? And the answer is they're gone because they don't need it
Yeah,
anymore.
there's not tiny little explosions happening underneath you.
No. No dead dinosaurs turned into liquid being burnt.
How prevalent are experienced EV mechanics? Is it now at a
Hmm.
stage where I can just take it anywhere, or do I have to be really selective as to
Good question.
where I'm getting serviced?
Legally, you're allowed to take your car anywhere. Practically, I would tell most people to try and find a car dealer for your car brand within your city. There's lots of owner groups on Facebook and other places, and you can just ask, and people will be pretty forthright and say, well, that one's rubbish, but that one's good. It's car dealers. They're salespeople. Some are good, some are not. I'd probably say go stick with the dealer because the other thing to remember is these are computers on wheels. Your normal, ordinary crash repair servicing place probably hasn't seen that many EVs come through yet. They will over time and they'll get better, but dealerships should be a better experience once you find a good one and stick with it. And the benefit with there is they usually have better access to spare parts, and it should be equal across the board, but it just isn't because the company has better spare parts than some third party does. And they
Mm,
also usually have better access to fix stuff like software issues because these are computers on wheels. Yeah,
mm, cool.
very much computers on wheels.
I guess the last question that I've got, is there a particular component within an EV that is a weak point where it's probably going to, if you have a problem, it's probably going to be this. And so
Yeah, I
that
think
might be a deciding
probably
factor.
that's a good question. Because a lot of cars have 2 year scheduled servicing like mine, people might not pay attention to obvious stuff like tire wear and rotation. And the 12-volt batteries in electric cars kind of get hammered, especially if people like using the apps a lot. Because every time you're using the app, you're going to the car, hey, car, wake up. Go and check all your battery and systems. And it can tell you all kinds of other stuff. Like Mike can tell me, did I leave a window open? What's the tire pressure? All that kind of stuff. And the more often you do that kind of stuff, the more often, because that's all running off the 12 volt, And
So
some
you can
people
actually
go a
deplete
bit,
the battery
some
by.
not the main battery, just the little normal size of like a big lunchbox, smaller battery that's in under the
Uh-huh,
hood. Or sometimes it's in different places. But yeah, those usually get depleted more often, especially if people use their apps a lot. But I
uh-huh.
mean, they're not expensive. You can go to Battery World or whatever and get a new one for
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
$20.
Yeah, cool.
One other thing, most new cars these days don't have a spare wheel. They have a bottle of goo to fill like a puncture. And then you're supposed to drive home with the puncture goo set off and then park it outside your place and then or take it to a tire repair shop and get it fixed. Personally, I think relying on the bottle of goo is not a fantastic idea. Some people do, but then it means if there's no spare, then one of my friends lives nearby was couldn't drive for 2 weeks because his car is a more fancy one and the tires are less common and therefore he had to wait after he got a puncture. And he's now bought a Space Saver spare wheel, which is what I suggested to him. And I have one too. And I've actually made a video about, I've got some videos about that kind of stuff coming up. Not the full size wheel. It's a smaller wheel that will get you to your back home or to a tire shop or whatever. And if you really need to, you can drive slowly and carefully for a week or two till you get your real one, rather than being able to transport yourself around. If you rely on your car, and I
Yeah.
use it 6 days a week to go to work things, visit friends, do all that shopping. If I didn't have it, no, I could not drag home 20 kilos of shopping or whatever on the bus. Definite thing people should get. I'll
Mhm.
put a link in the description to a supplier that I suggest. There are other ones, but
So prices obviously is the biggest thing that I've got front of mind after all of the minutia. So when I bought my Toyota Yaris YR three-door hatchback back in 2008, I spent bugger all. It was all on finance. So what
mm,
is the equivalent of that in the EV world, and what kind of price points should I
yeah.
be thinking about as being appropriate?
One thing to remember is the cost of an EV sometimes is a bit more upfront, but you get back usually, especially if you can charge at home like you can, then you'll get that back over time because the running costs will be far less. And obviously, if you care about climate change and the environment, then you won't feel like you're contributing to that as well, which is another benefit for some people, but other people just care about the money aspect. I would say since you don't want an SUV, which is good, we need more people who don't want SUVs because otherwise we're just going to end up with 100 blobby mid-size SUVs available across the country. Probably want a smaller one, and
I want a tic tac size. Like it's as long as
yeah,
like the most important part is sometimes I'll take two speakers rather than one speaker to my trivia gig. That's kind of all.
worst case
That's
you can
all.
push off the back seat down and put more stuff there if you need to.
Mm.
I would look at probably three different options. Yeah, if you're getting new, the GWM Aura, BYD Dolphin, and MG4 Excite 51. All very similar size, small hatchbacks. All have their pros and cons in terms of some people care about what their car looks like and what it's like inside. And then there's more practical bits. Is the seat comfortable for you? And can you see around with your height and arm length and everything else? And do you care more about the driving experience? Then you'd go for the MG4 because it's rear wheel drive. But 80 to 90% of people just want something that will have wheels and take them places reliably. Then you might want to go for the BYD Dolphin or the GWM Aura, which less drivers' cars but have nicer infotainment systems and things like that. Because you're looking at a mixture of partly paying for it yourself and finance, the price tag, if you got them outright, would be like, if it's new, low to mid 30s. If you can get a
Okay.
dealer demo, you should be able to shave a fair bit off that because a lot of those cars are getting refreshed, or there's cars with, maybe 500 Ks or 1,000 Ks that have been just used to demonstrate. That's a really good option
Mhm.
because you can take a chunk off the price there. And if you do want to save a bit more, all of those have been around for a little while. So you could go for the second-hand market. But then if you do, I would suggest using that becomes a bit more tricky because you've got to look at the Ks and condition and know how to buy cars and you check if it looks like people have damaged it. All the usual stuff you have to check with a second-hand car. If they're trying
Yeah.
to hide any damage or anything, it comes to that, I guess. Whereas at least
All
if you
right.
buy it new, then you've got your 5 or 7 year warranty or whatever. And
Yeah.
that also depends whether you want fancier apps or not. If you can live without an app, then I reckon you and play hardball, then the GWM Aura is a underrated car. It's quite cute, looks a bit like a Mini of old or a Herbie automated car, if you remember those movies back in the day
Yeah. Yeah.
on daytime TV. BYD Dolphin has a bit more tech, a bit costs a bit more in servicing. MG4 is super basic inside, sort of utilitarian. Again, and it's fun to drive, and that has the longest warranty, but the servicing costs a bit. I'm sure you're good at cross comparison. Just make a table and look at
Yeah.
all the three bits and see which ones you can live with, because none of them will solve all your problems, but which
Mm.
ones can you, like, which issues can you live without more or
Mhm.
less? GWM Aura has the lowest servicing. I think it's like $99 a year. But then GWM dealers aren't that great with EVs because they're used to selling huge vehicles called Tank and Cannon, whereas BYD dealers are more used to selling EVs and MG
Yeah.
dealers are more used to selling EVs. There's trade-offs. If you do buy
Yeah.
secondhand, I would recommend getting the battery tested if possible. There's a service that can do that.
Cool. All right.
Peace of mind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I guess to finish off, what are some community groups that I should be hanging out with and posing questions, reading success stories, horror stories? I'm fairly active on Reddit, so if there's any Reddit communities, but like anything that's online.
I'm not familiar with the Reddit communities. Electric Vehicles for Australia on Facebook is kind of good place. Unfortunately, I find when you get a large number of people in there, the quality of advice gets diluted somewhat. There'll be people with strong opinions everywhere, and you might get 5 different answers to your question. But it's good
Mm.
just to have a squiz and search for the models you're interested in and see what people are saying. There's a relatively new service, which I've got a video coming up in the next few days about. Nothing to do with me. I get no money for telling people about this. It's just literally called Buy Me an EV. And this company has realized that car dealerships are really not good at explaining electric cars because they joined car dealership to sell vehicles that go brum brum, not silently. Sorry, car dealers, it's true. But this guy runs training sessions at Eastern Creek in groups. I think it's a couple $100 if you do the group session and try out different cars. And I think a bit over $1,000 if you want a sort of concierge approach where it's like looking for a house, people who help you buy a house and know all the
Uh-huh.
tricks and tips. And they'll take you around to different dealerships once you give them a short list and drive it with you and give you tips and stuff. So that's an option. That's a
Yeah.
good option.
Nice.
It costs a little bit of money, but I think probably helps make a good decision rather than
Yeah.
just randomly going in there, especially if you don't have a family member or other person you can drag along to all of these test
Mm.
drives who actually owns EVs and knows about them.
Mm.
Good luck, Jason.
Awesome. Thank you very
I
much.
think it's about to cut us off. Yeah, cheers. Well, hopefully that was helpful. A lot of the stuff is things that people just ask me 100 times.
No, that was all really helpful.
Yeah, sweet. Let me know how you go. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and sharing my videos. It really helps me make more videos like this for you. And have a look at the suggested videos up above. I'm pretty sure you'll like those as well. Thanks, and see you later.